Call this meeting to order. The Effingham County Planning Board Workshop. I'd like to welcome everyone. We're going to have a prayer and then a pledge of allegiance. Mr. Grace, Heavenly Father, we praise you for this time. We can come and discuss these issues of Effingham. Thank you for the members who are present, the staff that's worked so hard on these items, Lord, and just ask that you would be with us and give us clear heads and minds. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That's it.
All right. Can I get a motion to approve this agenda?
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried by all. Any comments on the minutes from October 10th? If not, I'll call for a motion to approve these minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion for approval. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second, Mr. Zipper. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried by all. So all these items will be presented again at a future Board of Commissioners meeting. Item number 1, consideration of an amendment to the Code of Ordinances, Part 2, Official Code, Appendix B, Subdivisions.
Hey, Mr. Chair, can we do number 2 first, please?
Sure.
Thank you.
Item number 2 has been moved up. Consideration of an amendment to the Code of Ordinances, Part 2, Official Code, Appendix C, Article 5, Table of Permitted Uses.
So you know that our table of permitted uses currently in the ordinance is rather limited. So technically speaking, there's about 10,400 land uses that are out there. So we did narrow it down some to what we have. But so we want to redo these to be a little more proactive as far as the land uses that are coming to the county as changes are taking place. And so there's a lot of additions that you see in here. Those additions are not uncommon in other places. They just might be new to us. And so each column that has a P in it, that use is permitted in that district, whether it's residential, commercial, industrial, or whatever. And then if it has a C, it's a conditional use. So when they make application for a permitted use, that would be more or less an approval in the office. Conditional use has to come to you folks and have to come to county commissioners. And again, there are some, like I said, there's some uses on here that we're not accustomed to seeing. There may have been a few that you've seen before that just may have a different verbiage associated with it. So if you want to go through them, let's go through them and we can talk about them. If something just absolutely stands out at you that we're not going to do it or it shouldn't be permitted, needs to be conditional, let's focus on that too.
All right. Any questions, comments? And this is obviously an open forum, so please speak up at any time.
I guess the question I would have is, and based off of the little training class we had last week, specifically related to the ones, well, I got several, but this is the first biggie one. Like adding any additional uses in any of those single-family residential districts is going to take a fairly laborious public notice process, right? So
that was a surprise to me as much as it was you. Yes.
Okay.
So if we don't,
I guess
don't change it if we don't have to.
Well, I'm if it needs to be changed, I'm all about changing it if it's a difficult process. I guess I think on my end, it would be helpful, and I did go through and make some comments, but to understand, let's take R5, for instance. I mean, right now is the only thing allowed in R5, single-family detached, that's permitted. I mean, are we saying we're adding an allowability to have single-family attached? I mean, that's opening up multifamily in R5. Is that, if I'm reading that correctly?
So right now, the current ordinance reads as single-family detached.
Right. And I like the idea of attached, right? I mean, that to me is townhouses, right? Or duplexes, even if they're divided and sold as two separate units. They're single-family units on one parcel or two parcels, one common wall.
So there is an attempt here to open up some more residential zones to different types of residential. And so while single family detached at one point in time was the dominant housing in North America, more or less, it is not so today. You have more requests for attached, less property-oriented housing than you do the typical half-acre, quarter-acre, acre lot for single-family housing. Now, we've tried to protect the R1s and the AR2s from some of that, but it's the marketing that we're trying to help out with, as far as what the other generations are needing in their housing.
But we're allowing that but not in R5, in an R3.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and this doesn't matter, but traditionally, I mean, that was the dividing line. If it was R1, was R6, and now it's R5, those were your detached classifications. And then you had
And now it's just more or less R1. Right?
So R3 is multifamily. So the differentiation between R4 is mobile or manufactured
R4 is mobile home or RV.
R5, that is the more dense, traditional single family.
It is.
And then R6 doesn't apply anymore, right? We can't even zone to that anymore.
That's correct, but it has to be in there because they exist on the earth.
Right.
because why?
Because it exists.
'Cause
There
they
are
exist.
there are properties.
Yeah.
So I guess my question would be, well, I got probably a good many of them, and I probably should have put some of this out before the meeting. But I mean, I just see a lot of. I like the idea of opening up some additional housing types and housing options, but I was surprised to see any of the multifamily permitted as uses underneath AR1 and AR2.
But is single family attached multifamily?
Well, the
Is
way
it-
I read this is if it's underneath multifamily, it's multifamily.
Well,
It's-
yeah,
it's-
but
it's
I'm just,
underneath there, right?
so is it the attached versus unattached that's the catch, or is it just multifamily versus single family?
Well, I mean, I think the AR ones I've just always looked at as the predominant thing is the agricultural use there. And I don't know that zone is one I've ever anticipated us to have.
So for multifamily, apartments aren't allowed in AR1, or AR2, or R1. See where it says multifamily on the
Sure, yeah.
fifth line? Yeah.
Mm.
And then apartments aren't allowed in those, but they are in R3, R4, R5. Duplexes are allowed AR1, AR2, because that's actually a fairly good use for an AR1, AR2 is a duplex. Townhomes attached, AR1, AR2, they got to be conditional use in R1 to try to preserve that R1.
So how's the density limited? How's the density controlled for a townhome on AR1? So you could do a cluster. If you had 100 acres of AR1, we're going to say our AR1's typical lot size is 5 acres. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
So we're going to say you could do 20 townhomes clustered in there, and you can't do anything else with the rest of the property.
That's why nobody's going to do it.
So,
But that would be a great development, wouldn't it? You're saving a lot on infrastructure.
I mean, again, I do like the idea of adding additional housing types and use types in some of the.
Because we just don't, I don't know what the future is going to hold. I just, housing is not going to be the same today as it is going to be 5 years from now. That's what I think.
personally, I think we have allowed the attached in R3. That was the whole sole purpose why it was written. That's where, to make my P-brain work, that way I know what it is. And I know R5 is only single-family detached.
So it's not the single family that bothers you, it's the attached versus detached.
Correct.
And what difference is that in your mind?
Well, when I see a rezoning come through now, you're really gonna have to nail down exactly what's gonna happen, because there's gonna be a lot of options for development. Whereas in R5, we pretty much knew what we were gonna get.
See, I think, I mean,
Now we're not.
yeah,
We don't know.
the permitted aspect of it, I think that it would be okay to open up some of them as maybe even conditional, right? So even like take R5, like I do think that there's a good opportunity for, in my opinion, a mixture of townhomes and single family. Because if there are single family attached townhomes, in other words, they got a front yard and a backyard that they're selling as part of it, that is a single family, even though they're attached units. As long as it still stayed underneath the density of that district,
So
I think it would be a good thing, right? I think it would be a good thing, maybe conditionally, right? It would be one of the ways you have to have a site plan that shows you're going to put your attached housing interior. You're not going to impact your neighbor with it. Because to me, adding these, and I think that's probably why they added that state requirements, is because it opens up a lot of existing zonings that are going to completely change what allowed uses are inside those zonings.
so where do you currently allow this now? You're saying you don't allow it in R5 or whatever, but you do allow it. Where do you allow it?
R3.
I think the only district that the community thinks is allowed, or currently is allowed, is either R3 or the mixed residential and the B3
Every time you do a PD,
No, agreed. A PD obviously is, yes.
and that's what I'm saying. So how's this any different than a PD, except for you can control this? It's very difficult to control what happens in a PD once you let it go. That's what I'm trying to do, is give an option where other people can go and say, okay, let me zone it here where there's a different definition than it's PD, where it seems like it's Katie bar the door, so to speak.
Yeah, but well, I guess, like you say, we chose to approve. We have no control over our AR2 anymore. Like the duplex or the, well, let me go back to R5. Apartments, right?
Right.
That is a different.
Animal.
That's different than R5 has historically been interpreted, right? So if we change this, then you could conceivably, as long as you meet the density of R5, you could wipe every single family lot off of that and put 3 apartment buildings. Say your density was 200, or say you had rights to 250 units, right? I could, assuming this got changed without doing any further action, swap the plan, other than a sketch plan maybe coming back through.
So you guys want to protect your R5, is what you're telling me, right?
Well, I think multifamily, in my opinion, is one that, like, it's when it's true multifamily. I think, and we've had this conversation. Like, I don't think our multifamily is dense enough, right? That's my 9 units to the acre is basically mid-density, like townhome style density in most situations. Granted, it's to the gross acreage, so we usually can make apartments work and the numbers work out. But yeah, allowing multifamily just as a by right without any sort of condition inside of existing zoning that we have several of. I mean, for that matter, then I could go, unless the neighborhood had
Covenants?
the covenants against it, you could go buy up 5 lots and put in a 5-unit apartment building there,
Yeah,
right?
I don't see that happening. I see rezonings happening more than I see acquiring property within residential subdivisions already. I mean, there may be.
Because there's been no mechanism for it to happen.
That's correct.
There's been no ability.
But most of them are built out anyway. You're saying they're going to be infill? They're going to knock down 20 houses to put in 40?
Especially if it's an older subdivision that the houses are starting to get run down, I can see that happening.
Absolutely.
Wow. Okay, that's cool. Well, then take it out. We got more to go through tonight. We
I
gotta-
know, I,
If you want to make it a conditional use, make it that. If you want to take it out, let's take it out completely.
So what does taking it out mean?
Means we'll just, if it's blank, you can't do it. So blank is good.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, the R3 is the loaded one. I mean, that's the one that pretty much gives you anything and everything. And R5 is not.
All
I
right,
mean, when,
so
when I'm sitting here and a PD comes up here, I know what I'm gonna get. We're gonna get, by definition, it's supposed to be a mixed use. So you're gonna get some multifamily, you're gonna get some single family. Hopefully get some commercial. That's how it's.
so
supposed to
single
work.
family attached on an R5, you want to just leave blank, right?
Single,
I would actually
single
propose making
family
that a conditional
attached.
use.
Yes, I would. I would like that, Steve. Personally,
Alan?
One additional
I'm
single,
go with that.
Blank, and you want to make it
Additional-
conditional use.
one additional single family.
You-
If we're taking it out of that one, I would say it's coming out of all of them, because I mean, that's where it would, I mean, that's the one that would be appropriate in my opinion to allow for.
And
additional
so,
density.
one additional single-family detached dwelling, meaning that you could put two houses on a lot, right?
That's never gonna happen in an R5 because the lots are already so small.
So
Could you build would that also qualify as like the,
ADU,
my, when did I say that? Like a, well, shoot. Let's see here. Well, basically, like, so that's saying in a completely additional unit,
that's right,
but it can't be subdivided off, it's just a second unit.
That's
On
correct.
the piece of property.
on the same piece of property.
Yeah.
All right, what about, single-family attached in an R1? Kill it? Dave, kill it?
Single family attached.
In an R1?
I say no. Single family attached.
Okay, anybody else?
I'd say no as well.
Again, I would say conditional. I think that would be an opportunity where you could have a right plan to maybe work.
Okay. What about single-family attached in a AR1 and AR2?
I don't like them in there personally. That's me.
Dave?
I only like the attached in R3, if that helps.
Ryan? You got outvoted again, sorry.
Well, I actually would agree with it there. I don't know if
Okay.
attached necessarily makes sense there.
All right. So, all right, what about apartments in an R5? Conditional use or take it out? Out. Okay.
Take it out.
What about duplexes in AR1, AR2? It's only 2 units. They ain't gonna be able to live in the county. They're gonna have to go to Scraven.
I would say if we're already doing the single, if we're already allowing single family, an additional single family
In AR1,
detached
AR2, yeah.
dwelling,
A duplex is even cheaper.
well, duplex is basically, it's still 2 units on the property. I mean, it's no, well, other than the aesthetic of the unit, right? It's not different.
Yeah, if it's one duplex.
Well, that's all they can have is one duplex.
What, do we have control of that?
Yeah.
How do we have control of that, though?
I just don't.
I mean, I guess they could have 2 homes.
But
or-
you-
No, but how is the ordinance going to be amended to have
By
control over that?
definition.
But a duplex would have 2 septics on there,
No, it could have one septic.
1 septic for
Yep.
2 families?
Yep. So also think of a duplex as, you know, somebody builds it because their parents need to be taken care of 24/7 instead of going in, and somebody builds a duplex. Their children live over here, their parents live, there's privacy, but they're right there.
Yeah, we were gonna do that at Tybee for my mother and father. Down at North Beach.
Well, you better move down there. You can't do it.
Well, I don't
here.
know if they have a full separate kitchen, but I've got a neighbor that's got that in their house right now too. Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
I don't know how you control.
Nope. Nope. Nothing in R1, R2. What about a cluster development? Nope.
What's the definition of that? How are we defining cluster development?
Meaning that you get the same density, but you can put them all closer together to save money on the infrastructure, and everything else is open land.
I would put that as conditional, and I would absolutely think that would be appropriate.
Okay, but
My
anybody,
AR is my only sacred ground left. Everything else is going to hell.
But you understand that could protect 75% of that AR,
yep, that's what it would do.
because it would put the rest of it as
But
protected.
there'd be
Like, there would no
nowhere in the
controls on it.
county that you wouldn't, they couldn't put a duplex on anywhere.
Well, I guess I was talking about the cluster development aspect of it.
Yeah, we got rid of duplexes for you, Al.
Good.
Out,
Okay.
out.
All right, good.
So is a cluster duplex like an apartment?
A cluster is,
Well, in a cluster.
so like the tiny home things for veterans down in Wilmington, that is a cluster development all there. The difference for us would be is instead of having 800-foot long roads and 400-foot blocks, we would let them cluster them together in one section of the property, and the remaining property would be an open space.
Yeah.
So it would save, 25 to 50% of the property wouldn't be developed with infrastructure.
It would for then until somebody come along.
Wants to buy the other half?
Because there was nothing on it. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm
That-
not gonna go, y'all do what you want to, I ain't
I
going
think AR needs to be agricultural
to. I do too.
with one home.
Once you do away with that, that way of life's gone as you know it.
What about senior housing? Nope.
I get my question again would be, how is it defined and what is it? What's the controls?
Well, senior housing would be autumn care or something like that.
Well, Ellen makes a good point. AR is agricultural residential.
Senior care housing kind of thing. I mean,
Like assisted living.
it could almost be conditional.
And that's what I think. It could be conditional.
Okay. And AR1 and 2? Or just 2? I mean, you
I
probably
mean-
got some nice AR properties that could be senior housing.
Is senior housing like a development? I mean, is it
No,
more
it
than
is
one?
it is more of the assisted living.
I know, but is it one home or two homes or multiple homes? or
It's
is it a-
probably multiple
home?
homes located in a building.
So what are the senior care facilities now zoned that exist in Effingham County? There's one on 119.
There's one on 119.
Yeah.
That
It's
is
probably in the
city
city.
No.
It's not.
Lakeview Manor?
So let me
Manor
just throw
city
this
limits.
at you.
Who?
Lakeview Manor. is
Lakeview
the
Manor,
city
yeah,
limits.
that's a home.
What is it zoned?
It's in the city of Springfield.
That's cor-
Lakeview Manor's in the city of Springfield. Right next to the rec department.
Yep, city of Springfield.
They must have annexed it for get water and sewer, cause that water line runs, sewer lines runs there. I mean, hypothetically, anything you allow, so where's the AR land that can be bought? It's north of Springfield
That's right.
No, where
And-
there's
and-
no
and-
utilities.
and out of Guyton, that's
Correct.
correct. So, and land is much cheaper that way than it is that way.
Yep.
So anytime we open one of these doors for any kind of development, guess what's gonna happen? I mean, I'm a developer, I mean, it's just the truth. And
You're gonna
once,
get the maximum density that can allow
That's right.
in that zoning, that's what you're
That's
gonna
right.
get, and you're never gonna ever see anything else.
If you have the infrastructure in place.
Is there gonna be any sacred ground where a person can live the old-fashioned way left in Effingham County after we change all this? Is there gonna be any single family on a acre or 5 acres of land left, ever? Or do you wanna develop everything, stack it 10 high and just develop the hell out of everything? Cause I'm against that.
I know, I understand that, but so
we've got to leave AR1 and AR2 sacred. Is my
your
opinion.
R1's not sacred?
Well,
It ain't if we walk through and we add all kind of stuff to it.
Well,
it
R
won't
one,
be
you can
more.
do an acre. I mean, you can do a home in an acre.
You can do a home on half acre.
You can do a home on half acre if you got water.
You can do a quarter acre if you got water. See, R1 has always been the most sacred, across the country.
Well,
but
it
if-
has because it required stick built.
That's right. And it requires infrastructure.
Doesn't require infrastructure.
Well,
To
it's
get,
a
to get
developed-
density.
I mean,
To me, R1 is sacred because it is somebody has bought into a developed subdivide. It's usually like there's a plan to it, right? There was roads built, and there was like from an infrastructure standpoint. R1, yeah,
Yes, or
yeah.
we call them A R1.
R1 used to be that, or someone wanted to buy a piece of agricultural land and build a stick built home, and they only wanted a stick built home to be on it forever. Or Alan wanted to give his son an acre, and he wanted to rezone it R1 because he wanted to make sure it would only have a stick built home on it.
So, mobile homes in AR1 and AR2 continue to allow that to be?
Yes, that's the way it's sold. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I definitely think so.
And then mobile home subdivisions, conditional use in AR1?
What is it now?
I'm good with that.
I mean,
Just
is it a
R4?
conditional-
Just R4?
Just R4. Yeah,
I mean, they're going to have buffer. There's a long list of things they got to do.
Well, why would we allow it in AR1 and not AR2 then?
Because it's affordable housing. Wrong terminology.
No, I don't disagree with the idea of allowing for it. I'm just saying what's wrong. What's AR2 like? If you put 3 AR2,
I just can't. I don't see a lot of large AR2 pieces of property that you could put one in.
Okay.
Now you can put it in there. I'm fine with that. Make it a conditional use in there too. Somebody may surprise us. All right, so here's what I got. You ready? So single family detached, AR1, AR2, R1, R5, R6. Single family attached, permitted use in an R3, R4, and R6. One additional single family detached, permitted in AR1, AR2, and R6, conditional use in R1. Disaster emergency housing. So that's like if, we get a tornado, somebody got to put something down in our, we could let them have it. So, but it has to be removed. Apartments, R3, R4. Duplexes, R3, R4, R5, and R6. Townhomes, attached, conditional use in R1. You probably ought to get rid of that too.
In R1, yeah, we need to get rid of that.
All right, done. Permitted use in a R3, R4, R5, and R6, right? Okay. Cluster development, R3, R4, R5, R6, permitted use. Senior care, R3, R4, R5, R6, right? Okay. Mobile homes, permitted use in AR1, AR2, R3, R4, R5, R6. Manufactured homes, the same. Mobile home parks, permitted use in R4. And mobile home subdivisions, permitted use in R4, conditional use in AR1. All right. Now we're going to go to group living.
Steve, so right now, mobile homes are not permitted in R3. I just wanted to make sure that I understood that correctly. We're going to be okay with permitting mobile homes in R3.
R3.
Okay.
Yep.
Just wanted to make sure.
So domestic violence shelter, that's group living, AR1, AR2.
Conditional.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Both of them. Fraternity, sorority, you never know. We might get a college of some kind. Permitted in AR1, conditional use in AR2. I don't see that happening, but there it is.
Sorry, I had to back up, but domestic violence shelter, why wouldn't we consider allowing that kind of thing to happen in a commercial district? especially B3, we allow residential in B3.
Yeah, you used to. Wait till you see the chart. So,
So, yeah, if we,
so your commercial is supposed to be for what?
You're saying
Commercial?
It's kind of like a hospital.
Commercial is supposed to be for commercial.
No, I mean, a shelter is kind of, I guess not, but in a ways, it's kind of like a hospital. I guess that's Ryan's.
We need to keep our commercial commercial. We need to quit mixing residential with the commercial. Right?
I don't know, I disagree with that. But,
Separation of uses.
well, I think there's extremely too much separation of uses. That's one of the things that's flawed with zoning, but we disagree with that a bit.
No, I understand, but we just got through separating them all over again. Just residential, right?
Right, because that's where I think there's residential protections, but then there needs to be these hybrid districts that allow a lot of different things to happen.
Oh, I'd love to have commercial on the bottom and residential on the top. Wouldn't you?
I'm fine with commercial here and residential there if it's planned that way.
Yeah.
I'm good with it in certain areas, but not in every area.
Right.
Well, we seem to have a lot of it in Bloomingdale, Falkville, Eden, we're having, that corridor there. People are trying to make residential commercial.
They are. Because I think in this county currently, commercial is the least amount of land that we have available.
That's probably correct.
We may even have more industrial property than we do commercial property.
Well, now
Right.
we do.
By acreage, yeah.
Yeah.
By acreage, yes,
Yeah.
because you can do a lot with a commercial business on an acre.
Yeah, you can. So what about the rest of group living? Anything in there heartburn?
How can we define religious housing?
You what?
Are you gonna,
How can we define religious housing?
So it would be a parsonage.
Well,
So if you have
I
a
just think we
church and you have
open
a
ourselves up to
parsonage with
a
it,
lot-
what?
I think we gotta be cautious, just, I don't know, like,
Yes.
A parsonage is a home.
But if we don't we allow churches in almost any district, most districts?
Nope, that's not churches, that's religious housing.
I know the
Yeah.
parsonage goes along with the church in a lot of cases.
Usually, well, sometimes they have a church with no parsonage.
Yeah.
And I'm just
It
saying, if you
used
got a
to.
church and you want to put a parsonage, you ought to be allowed to do it. So I'm adding the use to what already exists. Okay. All right. Agriculture. Well, that's all messed up. Anyway, most agriculture is allowed in the agricultural area. Agritourism, remember, is conditional use.
is it, or permitted now?
So I suggested permitted in AR1, conditional in AR2.
what is agritourism, where a tourist goes on there and picks berries or something? What is agritourism?
That's right.
Yes.
Be a business that's related to generating
So-
a little bit of.
So if I grow Christmas trees on 10 acres
Yeah.
and I want to have somebody come in and do a choose and cut, and then I have a little hut there and I serve hot chocolate or something, then that's agritourism.
Or you have a corn maze or
Yep.
anything like that.
Okay.
Pumpkins.
Madrick Farms.
Okay, what's the next set of uses after agriculture?
Commercial.
Commercial.
All right, commercial. All right. Lodging, is that what everybody has?
Yep.
And you're like, why did you separate hotel rooms 75? What's the difference? Usually that's the model they use, that's the difference. So it's either gonna be 75 or less or 75 or more. Bed and breakfast? Ooh, So, in an AR1, AR2 permitted, do you want to make that conditional?
Say that again.
Bed and breakfast?
It might be conditional in AR1, AR2.
I would like to see it be conditional.
Done.
Let's change it to C.
All right, C. And then conditional use in a PD. RV park, we've got it permitted in R3, and then I threw in conditional use in an AR1.
It's permitted in R4, right?
R4.
Yes,
I mean R4,
R4.
excuse me, yeah.
And then what's CP?
Conservation preservation. It's gonna take a lot to get that done there.
RV parks basically campsites, not RV storage.
RV park, campground is the tents and campers, the next one.
Like the thing on on the race path was a RV park.
Yep.
Right, not like screen storage, like where people would go and park it.
No,
Right,
we're
not-
talking like, 29 sites.
So that's
they-
a campground.
Right. Yeah.
Well,
And RV park is a storage area?
No.
no, RV park is where
See under
RVs come together to RV together.
Right.
Okay.
They hook up to a septic and they have
What's the difference in the campground?
black
A
water.
campground
Okay,
is,
less than 25 foot and tents, okay.
yep, that's what the difference is, yep.
That's roughing it now.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
So the limitation, the only difference between those two is literally the fact that one's permitted in CP and the other's not?
That's correct. That's correct. And then STVR, short-term vacation rentals. I've got a permitted use in an AR1, AR2, and 5 and a 6. Now, we've not experienced that yet, but we're going to.
What are we going to experience?
Short-term vacation rentals.
So do we have any controls over those?
Like VRBOs.
We're gonna do it by definition. Right now, they could do it and there's no controls over it.
So a short-term vacation rental still allowed in B3?
I didn't know what columns was.
Yes. For some of the houses there in B2, 3 now, that would be a great use for them. Oh, yeah. The titles didn't move with them, did they? You put them on there, Dave, like I did? Yeah, I am too.
I was trying to get my columns right. Sorry.
Yeah. All right, so go to services. So obviously heavy on the B1, B2, B3, and the PD. Which is the majority of the services that were there. What's a little bit different is the standalone ATMs in an R1. I mean, some bank may want to have, a teller inside something else and or, under a canopy somewhere where folks don't have to drive all the way to town. I figured that'd be a conditional use. It may happen, it may not. Some other areas have it. Urgent care out in an AR1. Conditional use. And the next one is a conditional use in AR1 is a cannabis dispensary. Thank you, Alan. That made my night. Yeah. Well, I mean, they're coming and we can't stop them.
Yeah, I saw one today on the corner of Durin and White Bluff. It was a gas station.
That's correct. There is one. Yeah.
But these ones that are permitted under the R5 though, how are we saying any of these commercial uses are permitted under R5?
Where's an R5?
They're not.
Oh, the automatic bank tellers is an R5?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No,
So I go buy an R5 house.
that's our.
No, that should not happen. I don't know how they're in there. Take them out.
Yeah, urgent care, all those should be.
No, take them out. Take them out. Take them out.
6, 7.
Now, they should be allowed in a mixed use in case something happens there, but not in
I
R5.
would
Yeah,
completely
that's
agree.
good.
That's a mixed
No,
use
take them
thing.
out.
1, 3.
Scratch them off.
Take that out.
Yeah. And then mortuary, conditional use in B1, B2, and then an AR1 possibly because, they may need a lot of property. Veterinarians, AR1, AR2.
Can we
should
back
be-
up to counseling?
Yeah. Counseling?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, if we're gonna allow a vet business to be, counseling, again, it could be conditional, I guess, is what I'm saying. To me. it
AR1,
counts.
AR2, or
Yeah.
just AR1?
I just was thinking, because if you go for like counseling, a pleasant, non-busy setting is probably the setting you want to be in.
So that would be covered under residential or rural business? Is that what you're talking about, though? Yeah. Okay.
Well, I don't know, though. Maybe we don't want to be limited to the.
Let's
1,000
put
square
it
foot limit.
conditional use in both of them, okay?
Yeah, and then
Alright.
I would suggest making vets conditional use in anything that's not,
Okay.
that's just my,
Not a commercial district.
not a commercial district, because they can
Okay,
be extreme.
I got you. Okay. All right, what's the next page?
Retail?
Retail, butcher shops.
Okay. All right, butcher shop without a slaughterhouse. There's a couple, there's one in Bloomingdale there, on 80.
Mm-hmm.
Conditional use AR1, I think we're fixing to see that come real close here. And then butcher shop, with a slaughterhouse, butcher shop without. Building supplies. Outdoor nurseries. Repair shop, it's not very specific, but we'll do it in the definitions. A rural business, we're working on rewriting that ordinance. Sammy is right now, Samantha.
So, by definition, what is it gonna be? Like, why are we going through I guess that's where I'm going with a lot of that. There's definitions that would dramatically affect my opinion on how I would see these. Like rural business, if there's controls over it, to me should be conditional in some other spots, because that would keep us from having to rezone to a business zoning that nobody would want.
We're gonna try to eliminate rural business altogether. So let's talk about that for just a minute. What time is it? So rural business, residential business, and what's the other one?
Home occupation.
Home occupation.
Mhm.
Why?
All right, so what's a rural business that somebody's come in for?
A crane service?
Mechanical shops.
Mechanic shop, okay? What other uses would be allowed in the zoning district we'd have to change it to allow for the mechanic shop to go in, if we rezoned to allow it?
So most of the time, they're residential businesses where the guy's got a shop and that's where he does cars. So he doesn't do enough to be a B1 or B2 or B3, but he does enough because he clanks around in the back.
I don't know. A lot of times it's because he's, on an AR1 or AR2 piece of property.
Yep.
He's using a building that's not within his primary dwelling, and he's got customers coming onto the property.
So we're saying we're getting rid of those businesses.
No,
We certainly wouldn't rezone them to B3 in the middle of agriculture.
Right.
that's right.
It's not so much that we want to get rid of them. We want to find a better way.
A better way. So we have 3 ways of describing those businesses within a house. That's too many, and they're not inclusive enough. So if you're selling Avon out of your house, how do I know that?
Because I told you.
Because I pissed off my neighbor.
Yeah.
The neighbor, yeah, because the neighbor.
Okay.
comes in.
And then how many other people are selling Avon in the county out of their houses?
But why do you need to know that?
That's my point. I don't.
The rural business, I mean, in residential, either one is just to allow someone to have a business that they can't afford to have a commercial shop, but still have some parameters to keep it small enough that it's not, doesn't grow into a, I mean, the boy out on Hodgeville that just blew up from nothing.
That wasn't a business.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't a business.
Sir?
I said that wasn't a business, right?
What about Smitty's house that blew up?
Yeah.
No, the one on Hodgeville.
Oh, okay, the
diesel
one on
powered
Hodgeville, okay.
solutions. I mean, it just, you know, it was,
He built a commercial building and had a industrial business in it, zoned AR.
yeah, and it just,
Yeah, it's a
And it took off. I mean, he's got a huge, now you ride by there.
yeah, he's got
And-
10 mechanics. I
And
mean,
the other thing, all the things we put in place where you couldn't see it from the road,
it's all gone.
all that's gone. You can see all the way.
That
to
was
the
a
back.
disaster from the beginning,
It
but
was
it was,
disastrous.
a way to control it. Yes, I would like to see it simpler, but it still allows people to try to work from home.
Yep.
But,
Well, especially in the rural part of the county up north, there's needs for a mechanic that works on farm equipment or works on log trucks or whatever that wouldn't have need for a shop downtown somewhere. He's more of a mobile service and a at his house type service.
Right. I agree with that, but I don't think that there's three categories of that business. You either have a home business or you don't.
the rural business and the residential business always confused me.
Me too.
Me too.
I mean,
I don't have a problem with allowing them to have it or not. I mean, I'm with you. I don't know that we need three categories.
No, we don't need three categories. And there's some home businesses that I really don't think need regulation.
Residential business, I could be in my neighborhood and run a landscape architecture company out of it and have no impact on them. If I go to open a mechanic shop in my neighborhood, it's a completely different story. So there is there is a need.
And that's
for
what we're
separation,
trying to define.
in
Yeah.
my opinion.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
So there's got to be some, and I just didn't want, what I thought I initially heard was that we were going to, if you're a business, it's got to be in a business district.
No.
Any sort of
No.
business, because
No,
that's.
we're
you're
going to
have
change
a
our
bunch of spot
categories
zonings
of
around or-
definitions of what they are. Yeah.
But the people that are already doing that business are gonna be grandfathered in?
Non-conforming use, that's correct. Unless they conform with the new ordinance or the new description. Okay. What else on there, do you see that isn't good?
Is there a need to limit convenience stores with no gas pumps? So that is a dollar store, basically? Is that how we can?
That was in there before, I didn't change it, I don't necessarily like it. To me,
Where do we define a gas station less than
Yeah.
10 pumps?
cause anything over 10, they gotta go through the regional process. All right, what's the next category?
recreation and equipment,
What?
recreation and equipment, clubs, private recreational facilities, commercial firing range, commercial truck parking.
All right, run through those and see what you think. Whatever ones you wanna change, let me know.
Where are the categories under recreation and entertainment? No,
Starts with clubs and private
Thank you. Just
recreational facilities.
I don't think I have that page.
The packet didn't include it that was out, but the stuff on,
What?
Short-term
Oh, there it is. Ha ha.
vacation. I didn't get it.
Okay.
Oh, you got 2 short-term vacation rentals.
Do I?
No, he does.
Oh, he does. Okay. I guess it
It's on the
was.
screen.
You need to get in the business, right? Yeah. All right. So clubs.
Well, can I have that page?
Here, right here.
So there's something on here that's new. I guess you guys can pick it out, right?
Adult entertainment.
Yep. It's guaranteed by the First Amendment.
That is, but go-karts and ATV parks aren't?
That's correct. I don't know what you want to do about that. That's why I left that blank.
Ah,
Well, we need to come up with something, cause every homeowner that buys a home in Effingham with a child, the first thing they do is buy an ATV for their kids.
I understand.
.16 acre lot to ride.
Yeah.
right, and then they go right on the neighbor's property and
That's
opposed to
just the way it
the
is.
development of the
So we
neighbor's
need to
property.
do something for it.
Yeah. But I mean, so this is more of the
This is the big nasty.
big nasty. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
But this is less than 100 acres, correct?
Yep. Less than 100 acres.
I mean, it's conditional use.
Where? AR1?
But I think that's the area it's gonna go in.
Yes,
It's
it's
gonna be
gonna have
AR1.
to.
Okay.
you know.
So you're gonna have to put it as a condition.
Nobody's, you know, unless you just have a pile of land, nobody's gonna want that anywhere around them.
So I guess I was seeing commercial firing range, and I
Yep.
realized for the first time, we're gonna have a light industrial and a heavy industrial zoning.
1,000 acres.
We're going to try.
Yeah, that's right. That's
I
right.
mean, I like that, I just,
We'll make some acres.
Because there's such a significant difference between the two.
Be some, that you can't do it unless you got.
And that would be more of, like, if we get an ammunition manufacturer, can they have
Limited
a small
acres.
gun range either inside or outside at the same time to test their ammunition?
yeah, I wouldn't really focus on, on the firing range aspect. I was more just the
Yeah.
idea of light industrial versus heavy industrial zoning.
Yep.
Limit it, not a buffer. which would
So
be
why is
huge.
commercial firing range not a conditional use in AR? One.
Yeah, especially with the acreage.
Why is so what?
Why could we do commercial firing range as a conditional in AR1?
If you want to, ask them to add it to it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair in AR
As a conditional use?
as a conditional use.
Yeah, I'm good with that too.
In AR1.
Yeah, in AR1.
Commercial truck.
So what qualifies as commercial truck parking?
Commercial, hold on, commercial AR, or commercial firing range, AR1, conditional use, right? Okay. Now where's that?
The next one.
So you got commercial truck parking going on at Love's.
There's a big need for it.
There's a
I
huge
do
need
know
for
that,
it.
there's a big need for it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of independent owner-operators that live in subdivisions that can't park their truck there, and they gotta have a place to park. And so there's a huge need for it.
So I've got it as a conditional use, right? In the,
Well, that goes exactly to what my question was. What is the definition of commercial truck parking? Is it?
commercial
is it-
truck parking
You're
is the-
selling the space, not you're using your personal space, like you're not parking your
Correct.
personal, because I can still in AR1 go park my rig on
Yep,
AR1.
you sure can.
I just can't rent a space to my neighbor to park their rig
It's
on AR1.
commercial, not residential use, right?
Well, yeah, it's a commercial vehicle. Okay.
It's just magical.
Because we just had that issue where a guy was in a subdivision.
All right, what about,
Off of
But it was his personal, right? So it would still have that issue.
Midland?
yeah,
No,
I mean, let them,
off of
They did.
they did, yeah. So the rest of that's pretty simple, except for the adult entertainment club. And we say conditional use in what? PD, I1 and I2?
Yeah.
Okay.
So PD is mixed district. That was what we're going
Yeah, the
to call it.
PUD, yeah.
Okay.
Yes. You're gonna see that soon. Okay, utilities. So these are more or less, institutional.
So, government-owned water and sewer treatment plants. Public utilities.
You want to change it? You're thinking it should be conditional use everywhere?
What's that?
Wastewater treatment plants?
No, well, I was just trying to figure out where would they be allowed. You'd have to be in an industrial district, right?
Yeah. And I'm gonna say sometimes you're not always gonna know where they're gonna be needed.
You're not.
You're not?
Well,
Are
I mean,
you?
they're gonna be wherever there's or either previous investment or the closest point to a discharge point.
Right, that's what I'm saying, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the lady said, put your lines where you want high-density development.
That's right.
And so we've already got one, and I think that's probably enough for now.
Okay. So then we move to the health and social assistance. And I guess one that would, concern me would be, if you wanted hospitals to have more of a conditional use in some of the other zones. You just don't get too many of those.
Yeah, doctor's offices are covered just underneath services.
That's under services, yeah.
Yeah, I'm good with all this.
Okay. Schools,
Wait a second, go back to, airfields. I know where there's, an airfield on Mock Road.
yes,
That's AR1.
yes.
Needs
So
to
it's
be
a,
conditional.
so it's a non-conforming use.
It's been there a long time.
Yep.
Before we had all these
I
ordinances.
think that, the UGs have one on their property, like, what do you call those?
Well, that would just be a non-conforming use. We're looking at going forward, zoning going forward, right?
So the schools is permitted in AR1, AR2.
Mm-hmm.
What's the definition of school? I mean, is that just, well,
That's underneath public. So it's saying all that's public.
so it's just public schools done by our
School
Board of
system.
Education?
Yep, probably need to put that in there. So I'll put the word public in front of that,
Public schools.
okay?
So where is a school that's related to a,
You could have a cosmetology school.
That's vocational.
well, no, I guess I'm saying where is a school that's related to a private organization allowed to go?
Yep, where is it allowed to go? Let's put private schools in there too.
Public says private schools.
Well, to me, it needs to be a condition, it needs to follow the conditional allowances of wherever we're allowing churches, because that's the most likely of where they're gonna follow.
Yeah, I agree.
So private schools should be same as places of worship.
Our places of worship needs to be changed to places of assembly.
Yeah.
That's right, places of assembly.
Right. Well, that's why I didn't point it out. That's why I asked about the religious housing. I don't know that we can.
I don't know what that means.
You know what? I
So it
don't
needs
really
to be
understand why. I mean, places
Housing of
worship,
assemblies.
places of assembly.
Yes, that's
It
what
could
she
be two
said.
different things. A place of assembly could be a gymnasium for a ball game. Place of worship is a place of worship.
Could be the Herald Center.
Could be the VFW.
So she told us to change it. That's,
She
Who
did.
told
She
you to change
corrected
it?
us.
Chrissy?
Yeah, she corrected us on that one.
Yeah, I don't care what, it don't matter to me. I wouldn't change it.
so why
I believe, I was born and raised in a Christian environment, and
Yeah.
I'm not gonna go woke ever. I'm gonna always back up people's right to worship
Yes.
in a church or mosque or wherever they wanna worship. I'm gonna back their right to do that.
Then we'll leave it just like that
Second.
until the attorney says to change it.
If the attorney says you can't, then to call me.
I will
I'll
tell
explain it to him.
I'm gonna put you front and center there.
I'll explain it to him.
I will. All right, that's good. But we do need to add private schools, and we will do the same zoning that we have for the places of worship, okay? That's really what we're after, right?
Yes.
Because they could be church schools or places of assembly schools.
I mean, I think that you could very likely have,
I don't think it needs to be permitted.
what's that? Is it by right use?
Places of worship, so I mean, you can build a church anywhere you want to.
Oh, I thought that,
It is?
It's permitted.
it's
Where?
conditional.
Yeah, they're permitted. The only place of conditional use is in I-1, and you should be worried about a church that wants to go into I-1.
I guess my argument to that would be, what if Joel Osteen wants to roll in here and build a huge church up there in North Effingham where we don't have the road system? I mean,
Who won't have water and sewer?
I don't, wait. It's just, you can do it, it's permitted, it's the last, you looking for places of worship?
Oh,
It's
we
the
were
very-
talking about
Yeah, we-
residences earlier.
Kinda got down a little bit, but it's at the very bottom.
Is there anything that you want to add to the table of permitted uses that you think we don't have?
So we can have a county jail in agricultural residential conditionally?
Conditionally, that means they have to come ask. To be allowed.
I don't see it happening, but yes, it's conditional use.
I mean, I personally like the idea of more conditional
Because you
use.
probably
It's,
not gonna-
otherwise, we end up rezoning something for one specific use, and then all it takes is them to change their mind walking out the room, and then there's a bunch of other uses allowed. Unless we condition that zoning to just be that use. So I do like the idea of that it needs to be some strong conditions related to these, that it's in the definitions, but I do think that that's a a good idea. I go back up to schools again. So you wouldn't be allowed to do a school in a commercial kind of area?
Do we have,
Should be allowed to.
public schools in a
So
commercial area?
that schools, he's gonna change that to public, obviously.
Well, I mean,
But I mean, yeah, I think it should be pretty much any of them,
I do too.
or all of them.
yeah, I mean, maybe it's conditional, but they should be allowed pretty
So in a
well with the
B1,
media.
B2, and B3, conditional?
Yeah, I
right?
mean,
I put
Is that what you're saying?
I put
Yeah.
them conditional across the board.
the
Both
private,
sets? Both sets of schools, public and private?
I would think so. I don't see a real good reason to limit schools on that. I mean, obviously they do generate traffic, but that could be a conditional consideration.
Okay. C's, right, okay. And then, on the last page, I did leave some blank space there for fill-ins, but, so you have industry.
Why do some of them have stars by them?
That was from the previous, zoning I just copied and pasted. I do need to take those off. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, and again, we'll have to have a strong definition of what heavy versus light manufacturing is. And I would think if it's heavy, then we would only allow heavy in the heavy zoning. Or maybe conditionally in the light industrial.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's put a C there in I1, okay? Right?
So to me, heavy is like where you're actually manufacturing a product, what, like this new plant we building over here to make the hoods and the trunks are actually building the product. To me, light is like a warehouse where they just store stuff.
Well, but this is talking about manufacturing. Difference between manufacturing light and manufacturing heavy. And to me, what they're doing, if you separate manufacturing, then they're stamping metal. They're not processing metal to make it metal, right? Heavy and well, that might be manufacturing. That would be
Or
Yeah.
light manufacturing could be bottling.
yeah. Again, I just think it's all up to the definition of how we're defining.
So
it,
heavy,
right?
you would define where you take a raw product
Yes, I would.
and
think.
turn that raw product into a finished good.
With some type of
Like,
changing of,
You took the raw steel, you heated it, you melted, you did whatever you had to do to turn it into the,
In the
material
highest
that you
essence
found.
possible, yeah, I would say that's a very heavy, a recycling plant. To me, that's still heavy.
heavy.
Maybe that's not manufacturing, but that would be heavy industrial.
I'm good with that definition.
all right, anything else in other that you feel like doesn't belong there or that you would like to see different?
Well, surface mines, less than 10 acres, shouldn't that be in,
So where are the surface mines over 10 acres?
That's under industry.
surface mine, less than or equal to 10 acres? So shouldn't that be in,
Where's, that's every dirt hole around here, a lot of them.
So where's the bigger ones?
I don't know, I don't see it.
So wait, we're getting rid of the zoning we just created for the
No.
mining solution?
So
we didn't have
what
to
is
zone
the
everything
current
industrial?
zoning for it?
It's a PD now, right? Doesn't it have its own
It
planning
is,
district?
yes, it's a PD.
Yeah.
So this is in a PD, right? It's conditional use in a PD? That's the pink one,
Yes.
right? Yes?
It's just gotta be listed somewhere, I guess, unless it's somewhere else that I missed it.
Oh, you're saying for over 10 acres? Yeah, it needs to be in there. Just, let's put it in there. But it's the same conditional use over in a PD, right? Yeah. Okay.
So they'll both be conditional?
Yes. Don't you think?
Does the ordinance break it out at 10 acres? Is that
It does,
is it a
so,
trigger?
it does, so it has, from 1 to 10 acres and then over 10 acres or more. So,
All right, that's good.
allow a surface mine in a AR1?
Not anymore.
so it's,
Yeah.
it's conditional, it's conditional use in AR1.
Now we allow only
It's conditional use in AR1 for 1 to 10 acres, and then when you go above the 10 acre threshold, it becomes the PDMR.
So AR1,
Yeah,
Less
we don't
than-
need to get rid of that. 'cause
less than
that's
10
a-
acres?
To me, that's a good thing that allows us not to rezone a piece of property that doesn't need to be rezoned, but it's in a great location for a surface mine.
Yes, so what we did was got rid of the industrial
Right, that's right.
zoning.
so is
for
it
the-
permitted in less than 10 acres? Permitted in AR1.
Well, it was a conditional allowance,
Conditional
yeah.
in
I got it.
AR1, yeah.
Okay, I got it.
That's what I was driving at.
Good catch, Peter.
The very last use there,
Self-storage mini facilities?
yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, there's a bunch of questions I had throughout the different uses, but yeah, that's one that's gonna be driven by the need to be close to dense residential. So that means you're either gonna be zoning the zoning adjacent to it to be the most intense commercial zoning we've got adjacent to the residential, or people are going to try to find another solution to it. So in other words, what I'm saying is where we've got R3, the need for self-storage and mini storage will follow, right? So do we want to make it to where you would have to rezone to be the most intense commercial district we've got to be able to allow that,
I wouldn't think.
right? Isn't that the way I'm reading that right now? I mean, 'cause it's not that intense of a use. It's not the most aesthetic look, but it's not very intense in my opinion. Like,
So it's
if we've got
conditional
one in
use in a,
a neighborhood and it's no bother, right? It's just.
yeah.
sometimes
It's
it
conditional
looks
use in a B2, it's a permitted use in a B3. It's permitted use in a PD, right now, the way it's shown there, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I would think it's,
You wanna put a conditional use in an R3?
oh, no, I wasn't saying in the zoning district, in residential district, I was saying I don't see, I mean, the limitation of B1, like, what's, from a B1 standpoint, is there a reason why we wouldn't,
So why it's not allowed in B1?
right?
Conditional use B1?
I would think
Okay,
so, right? I
that's
mean,
good.
that's the most likely zoning we would be comfortable with putting
Yeah,
adjacent to a
absolutely.
neighborhood.
That's where I'd prefer to put it, would be B1
Okay.
rather than B3.
Okay, that's good. All right, that's good. Can we take a short break before we get to subdivision?
Yes, sir. We'll take a short break.
Excellent.
And the food's here. I make a motion to adjourn. Let's say the blessing real quick.
Sure.
Most gracious Heavenly Father, we just praise you for this day. We just ask you to bless this food to nourish somebody else's service and hands that prepared. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Amen.